Hey everybody, it's Jeanne and I'm back. This is where I left off yesterday and I was so excited to get back to it this morning. I couldn't wait. I got home very late last night, so I just was too tired to even think about doing anything. And of course, you know I made a big mess in the room, so and I didn't want to put everything away because I still had so much left in there to play with. So anyway, I discovered that the pages were stuck together. These two pages, and I'm just so carefully peeling them apart, and they did. I was just sure that any minute it was just gonna just start ripping the pictures all to pieces, but it didn't. And there's a couple little spots that need to be covered, but overall it's good. And I couldn't believe my luck because I just really particularly liked these two pages. Now the one page on the left, that's from Reminisce magazine, and I just love how they showed all the vintage cards, and it was just so hard to choose which side. And but I went ahead and I was happy with my choice. I was happy with my choice even later, because when I look at these pictures here, I just really, really love them. So So I'm kind of thinking and debating about what to do here. I'm picking out some pieces and kind of getting started. But one of the things I needed to do was to cover up some of the area that was still sticky. And I thought, well, I'll use this really pretty silvery mesh stuff, and I thought that would be a great idea, except that it's mesh and the glue kind of comes through, and then the glue wasn't really sticky enough to hold it, so I had to add a little more glue. But I did really like it, and I think just adding little bits of ribbons and bows and little touches like that kind of make it a little more interesting than just plain plain pictures. Later on, I may do a little bit on them, or add borders, and do a few different things. But we'll see what comes along. And right now, I'm just trying to get that ribbon on, and we'll see how it does. The pages were fine. Even later on, the glue dried enough just by having the book open to air and having these ribbons over the extra sticky parts really definitely helped. And that's the one thing I love about collage, because no matter what kind of mistake you make, it can be fixed. And that's just the best part. And trust me, I make a ton of mistakes. Remember, I do this just for myself. I am not a professional. I am not one of those fabulous YouTubers that just do everything so beautifully. Mine I love. And I don't mind the little mistakes, and I don't mind if I had to be doing it exactly right, I would look at this and I would think, oh, I don't like it. I don't want. I don't know. I just really feel like I don't know why I'm happy with imperfection. To me, it's the overall the overall finished product that I love. And even if I'm thinking, ooh, I don't know if I just love it, it's pretty sloppy. This page I didn't do this really well or whatever. For some reason, I open it up a few days later and I look at it and I just love it. So it's, I sometimes am a little hard on myself as I'm working in it, but normally not. Normally I'm just happy as a little clam, and I put things on that I like as I'm doing it, and I don't care if it's a little bit crooked. And that was from Liz Drake, and she does some journals still, and just watching her work. The very first time I just looked up on YouTube about junk journals and hers came up, and I watched it and I thought, I can do that. I can do that because it's not exactly right. and she's the first one to say, it doesn't have to be right. So anyway, lecture over. I've grabbed out this little scrapbooking magazine that I picked up at the thrift store. And oh, I love to harvest. I just love to harvest things out of it. There's just so many pretty things that they've done in there. And I love how they look. And I would love how they look even more if they were in person, if it was my work that I was looking at. But just the pictures in there are just fun for me, and I love adding them in. And I'm not quite as careful as I used to be about fussy cutting. I have noticed that I like the fussy cutting that leaves just a little bit of an edge around things. So now when I'm working in my other books, I like to cut as close as I can, and I like to cut it very, very carefully because I don't mind fussy cutting. In fact, I really like it. That was my favorite thing to do when I was a kid, is to buy and cut out paper dolls, which I'm maybe belaboring that. I think I've mentioned that a few times over the last couple hundred videos. But I not only did I cut out paper dolls that you could buy in the stores, I cut out magazine people to be my paper dolls. So that I've learned over the years that is something that's very relaxing for me, something I love to do. But when I'm working in these journals, I feel like I'm in a hurry because there's so much I want to do, and I know I have limited time. So sometimes I feel a little bit in a hurry, and I will kind of cut corners a little bit when I'm doing my fussy cutting and leave that little bit of an edge. But I like it. I like it that way too. But when I'm working on something that is more of an art piece, I like to have it cut closer, and I like to add the shadows and do all the special little things to it. This book is just for relaxing and just for fun. But oh, isn't that cute, that little guy? And it seems to fit perfectly in with that little Victorian page. So I was pretty happy with that. But I'm probably not going to be giving you a blow-by-blow of everything I'm doing and why I'm doing it. But I'm just going to kind of chat along with you while you're watching and I'm watching. And you can turn down the volume if you don't want to hear the chat, or you can fast forward it, and I'll sound silly, but that's okay. I don't mind. I do that myself with videos because, everybody only has so much time to watch videos. So, so in order to get in extra videos, sometimes I have to fast forward, and but I want to hear what they're saying. So, I've learned to listen carefully to very fast, high pitched voices. So anyway, so you can fast forward it and listen, or you can put it on double speed. Well, double speed's very hard to listen to, but if you put it on like time and a half, it's easier to listen to, and you can hear everything, and it goes a little faster. Now, if you don't like the chat at all, the volume button is very easy. Just turn that volume down, and you can watch. If you don't like the music, you can turn that down. So you guys really have a lot of control over how you watch the video. All I can do is just throw it out there just the best I can. If I'm doing something new, though, I'll try and tell you a little bit. But it's this close to Christmas, and I'm thinking I have so much to. I normally just like to buy stocking stuffers for everybody, and I like to buy a nominal gift to put money in, and everybody gets money for Christmas. But this year, there were some noises made about preferring maybe gifts this year instead of cash. And I thought, well, I'll try that. But it has really been quite stressful to pick out, and everybody's good about giving me lists. I'm very happy because we have wonderful lists that we can choose from, and that has been my lifesaver, is these lists, because I just choose right off the list. And I actually don't choose completely off the list. There are some things that I've purchased that were not on the list, but I have chosen from the lists. But it's the shopping. I went out shopping for some gifts the other day, and I'm telling you, I couldn't find anything. It's just like nothing is exactly right. Everything I looked at, I could think, oh my goodness, well, I could get this, but this doesn't look quite right. Or this, what if they don't like it? Or what if the color's wrong? There was just a lot of issues, and I thought, I'm just getting to where it's too hard to make all these choices. And so I sat down in the store. I found the shoe department where they have the little seats that you can sit on to try on shoes. And I whip out my phone, and I'm going to my lists, and I start ordering online. And I still bought a few things in the store, but I bought 3 things for myself. So I was, I felt the shopping trip was pretty productive because I did get a few things that I needed for myself. And I did get a couple things for some other people. But truthfully, I'm not sure I'm going to do this again, because not only is the shopping difficult, and even the online shopping, because there's been some mistakes made. So the online shopping hasn't been perfect either. Some gifts were sent to my old address in Florida. Some gifts were delivered to the wrong house and they refused them. And instead of looking at the address, they sent them back. And so there's been a few issues with online online gifts. I've even had gifts delivered to my house that um, that were from my neighbors. So I had to go over and take them over to my neighbors, which was kind of nice because I hadn't met my neighbors across the street and kitty corner from me. So that was nice to be able to get a chance to meet them. So anyway, um, that's the story of my Christmas this year. I have just been shopping and I'm feeling a little more stressed. I fortunately don't have to do any cooking or anything like that. I do very minimal decorating. Um, I think I told you the story of my tree yesterday, which I'm just sitting here right now enjoying the colors. And you know what I like about my tree? I have the kind of lights where it changes. You know, it goes from flashing to twinkling to fading in and coming back on a different color, then fading out and coming back on. And it's so pretty because, oh, I just love it. That's just, I mean, it's as good as a color wheel. When I was growing up, we had an aluminum tree in the family room, and um, the aluminum tree had one of those color wheels on it, and I could just, I mean, I could just watch that for hours, watching the whole tree change, and it was only 4 colors, but I loved that tree. I tried to duplicate it. I did find a color wheel. It was back when they were first kind of coming back, and I bought an aluminum tree and I found a color wheel, but the plastic parts they didn't fit together right. They were kind of broken, so I had to tape them. Then they were kind of wobbly on the rotating wheel, and that was a problem. So this is much better. I feel safer with this tree, and I can still have my 4 colors. Plus, I can have them all together. Plus, I can have them doing different things. The only thing they don't do is they don't chase. They don't chase each other. I think that'd be kind of fun to have a tree that had lights that chased each other all over the tree. I don't even know if they make lights like that. I think they do. I'm making fudge tonight. So I've had to test it a couple times. And that testing it has made my throat kind of phlegmy, I guess. And I'm not a real big chocolate fan, and especially not at night. It's kind of late at night because I'm going to put this on tomorrow, and then I think I will have a third video for you on Christmas Day. So I'm really having fun. I've spent a lot of time in this book. I haven't been real productive because I'm spending a lot of time rooting through my box, thinking, oh my goodness, there's just so much. There's so many things in here that I've put in here because they're Christmassy, but I really don't want to use them in a book. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Oh, you know what I do have? I have snowmen that you can assemble. I will have to take a picture of one of those and show you. I might be able to even include it in here. I made one last year, but I bought a whole bag of like 10 or 15 of them. But I might just keep that bag, and because last year I made one with my grandson's picture in the face, and maybe I'll make one every year for him. That might be kind of fun. To have him growing up as snowmen. But I don't know how much you can see just in the eyes, nose, and mouth. If you can see a lot of age differences. Well, that'd be something I can try. I should be watching this. I'm kind of half watching it, and I'm half looking around my room here the decorations that I've put up. I haven't put up too much. I have a mantle that I've decorated, and I have there's a little mantle over over a fireplace that's underneath the big mantle, and I've decorated that. And I have my tree, and I have another tree, and this is a tree. It's it's an Italian tree, and now I can't think of the name of the glass Murano. It's a Murano tree from Pottery Barn that I picked up at the Pottery Barn outlet where they have catalog returns. And I'm not sure why they returned that tree. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But it's a beautiful little tree, and I have lights around it and some floral, some white, like white holly and white berries and colored lights around it. It's very, very pretty. So, I mean, I just have a few things. Oh, and I have snowmen everywhere. I have snowmen hanging on the door and hanging, and I do have outdoor lights that just kind of go on the house, because I don't want to ask people to put up lights for me. So, I mean, my son does enough that I don't want to ask him to do that. That's one thing he particularly doesn't like to do anyway. So this is something that just sits in the lawn, and it just has lights all over the front of the house. And you've seen them. You've seen them everywhere. Now, the neat thing is I have these, so they're like bamboo shades that go up and down, and you can see those lights through the shades. And they actually, in part of the, since the tree's in front of the front window, some of the lights come through the window part and they shine all over the living room. I just see little flashes of red and green lights here and there in the living room. So it's really kind of fun. I see them everywhere, just because they're outside. And if you have those lights, it's probably the same for you. If you keep your windows open. Mine, I don't keep open. Just a small area at the bottom of the tree is open, just because I do like to have my privacy. I don't like to have windows open at night. So, let me see. So that's a little bit about my decorations. And I have my cards. My cards are up on the mantle. And some of my homemade things that I've made over the years, I get out every year. But I have all my ornaments and everything they're all still packed up. I never did get them out. And I do have one of those trees. What do they call them? It's this little light comes through the end of the. Oh, I can't think of what they call. It's a self-light tree, and it kind of glows all over. It's a green tree, and it has the lights that come through like a little stem. So it's pre-lit, and I really love that tree. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. If I don't think about it, maybe it'll come to me. So, how are you liking? How are you liking the pages so far? I'm finding snowmen and reindeer. Snowmen and reindeer. And I'm just having fun. I'm just gluing away happily. And then you guys are trapped here with my memories. I'm trying to think of what else has happened it seems to me that there were dozens of things that I was going to be telling you, and now I can't think of any of them. I should write things down, because I do have little interesting stories. I will tell you this. It took me 45 minutes to make this fudge. And I think I'm about done making fudge. Fudge is somewhat scary to be working with when you're by yourself. I kept thinking, what if this pan tips over? All this boiling sugar gets all over me. I mean, I'm just like, I'm trying to hold on real tight to it with my, and you know, you have to stir, and I kept thinking, oh, I don't want to splash. And then my arm got so tired of beating in the marshmallow and the chocolate chips, and I was stirring and stirring and stirring. And I like my fudge with lots of walnuts, but some of the family doesn't like walnuts. So I only put walnuts on the top of the fudge once it's in the pan, not completely throughout the fudge, which is how I like it. But I only put it on the top, and then I left like a third of it without any walnuts or anything on top of it at all. And I thought, well, I guess that's good enough. But there was still enough fudge in the pan that I put some in a pie pan, and I put a lot of walnuts in it. I thought, I'm saving this for me. And there's walnuts all throughout it. I'm a walnut person. Even as a kid, I loved the fall because that's when the walnuts were ripe. And we had English walnut trees all up and down the road. And my friend, they had a gigantic walnut tree. And they used to store the walnuts in the garage. And they had walnuts all year long. And they had a big bin built in their garage for all the walnuts. And it filled, I mean, the bin, well, I guess I have to say it was taller than me, but I wasn't probably very tall as a kid. So, I mean, it was as tall as an adult. And it was probably maybe 4 foot wide and maybe 6 feet deep. It was a good sized bin. And they had a huge tree. And maybe they had 2 trees. But I definitely remember the one at the end of the driveway. There might have been one on the other side of the yard. Come to think of it, I do think there was one on the other side of the yard. Anyway, that's what we, every so often throughout the year, we'd get into the walnuts and steal walnuts, my friend and I. And we'd go around to the side of the house and crack them and eat them. But, but walnut season in the fall, there was so many walnuts, everybody was like, yeah, you can have all you want. That's less for us to pick up. And everybody walked around with black stained fingers from taking the husks off the walnuts and so forth. And so all my Christmas baking usually involved walnuts. I just, if you're from the South, I guess you have pecans. But if you're from where I was from in California, walnut trees were everywhere. Almond trees were everywhere. And we didn't cook much with almonds for some reason, but definitely cooked with walnuts. So, but I grew up in, if you've watched a lot of mixed media videos, you've probably seen Lori Marie. Well, she's from Vallejo, California, and that's very near where I grew up in Concord. And so she just did a video showing her yard, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed seeing the um, the familiar plants and so forth. But she's such an artist, and she's so daring, and she's got a polka dot wall and sculptures because she married somebody who enjoys art as much as she does. So I will maybe put a link to that video in the information box down below so that you can um, see the kind of area where I grew up um, in Concord, California. It's just very mild climate, beautiful winters, rainy in the spring, and it doesn't seem like it rained much in the fall, but definitely rainy in the spring. But it does rain in the fall because I remember the mountains do green up in the fall and winter, and they're late fall in winter, and the hills, they're not really mountains, they're hills, and the hills are brown in the summer. I guess summer and fall. It's really strange. I haven't lived there for 50 years, just about, and I've kind of forgotten exactly when they turn green and brown. I'll have to check on that. I'll have to look that up. One of the things I did look up was I looked up Mount Diablo, which we had a beautiful view of Mount Diablo out our front window. We had a big picture window in the living room. And we always went up on Mount Diablo for our picnics and our swimming and different things. They had several swim parks, and they had what you call Rock City. Oh gosh, I'm really getting off track here. But I looked it up on the internet, so I can probably look up about the mountains and whether they're green or brown. I'm sure they're green right now. I'm sure they're green at this time of year. But they're so funny because whatever grass grows doesn't grow really tall, but they look like velvet from a distance. And so they look like green velvet or brown velvet. And I always used to think, how beautiful they were. And then there'd be a big oak tree out in the middle of, nowhere. And you'd see a cow or two, under the oak tree. But yeah, I love living in California. I love living in Florida because I do love mild winters. And I don't mind hot summers. But Ohio and Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, I lived in all those states in the nice Midwest where there's 4 seasons. And winter is challenging, but summers were always pretty nice, and we didn't have those long stretches of humidity. But winters were always challenging, and when I was younger, I did love the snow, even though I wasn't used to that. It was pretty cold, and you had to learn to drive in it and all that. So we used to actually, now that I think about it, we used to get snow on top of Mount Diablo every so often. Not every winter, but we did, and I can remember when we would go up there and build a little snowman on the hood of the car. And you'd see people driving around with these little snowmen on the hoods of their cars. But when I was maybe 10 or 11, they just decided they closed down the mountain because they said when it snowed, too many people were going up there driving off the cliff, I guess, or having accidents or sliding in the snow or near misses or whatever. So they ended up closing the road that goes over goes up to the park, and that goes up into the mountain where the snow was, because it was too dangerous for poor Californians to drive. I don't even think I have any West Coast viewers. Do I have any viewers from the mid California area? Anywhere near in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area? Don't know if I have any viewers from there, but that's where I grew up. I grew up in Concord, and I think I mentioned my school colors were green and gold. Concord High School, we were the Minutemen, of course, if we were Concord, and whenever I see green and gold, I think of it. I think of my school colors now. When I see turquoise and red, I think of Kmart colors. Every time I see those two colors together, I think, Kmart colors. My husband worked for Kmart for many, many years. So I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm not even looking now. I'm just thinking and thinking about my past, and this is not quite a very Christmassy chat, is it? I'm talking about everything else under the sun but Christmas. I'm trying to think something specific about Christmas. Now, I told you that we always had the aluminum tree. Now, that was in the family room, not in the living room. In the living room, we always had a real tree. And we had gigantic juniper. We had a very large juniper bush in the front yard. My mom would cut large branches of that, and she made a mantle scene, and she would put colored lights in it and carolers and a little village on the mantle, and it was very fragrant. And then on one of the corner tables, she had a lot of the juniper greenery, and she would put the manger scene in that. And oh my goodness. But I see I've come to the end of my video, so I'm going to have to pause this story and tell you next time. Bye-bye.